We're pleased to welcome Deborah Cooney, candidate for sheriff.
Okay, thank you so much for having me here at the Chamber of Commerce. It's a great pleasure, a great honor to be speaking for you folks. My name is Deborah Cooney. I am running for sheriff of Indian River County. Just to remember my name, it's like George Clooney without the L, Deborah Cooney. I have an Ivy League degree. I went to Brown University. I studied with John F. Kennedy Jr. He was at Brown when I was there. I'm very closely affiliated with the Kennedys. I grew up in Massachusetts, and a great place to get an education, I'll tell you, but I wouldn't want to live there. I would rather live here in this beautiful, sunny beach community. I love this community, and that's why I'm working so hard to help. I have been a civil rights advocate since 2008. My specialty is police misconduct. I've been prosecuting police misconduct and reporting it and working for change. You know, the first thing that we have to do is ban the unions. The police unions are the biggest problem that we have. They are the reason why we've never been able to have any lasting changes in our policing. And I'm talking about nationwide, not just in this area. The Fraternal Order of Police is the biggest mafia organization that we have in the US. They promote police misconduct. They go in and they rally for the police misconduct. I mean, how is this helping our communities? It's not. It's a mafia organization. If you give them money, then you get a little bit of police protection. If you don't give them money, you get no police protection. That's the very definition of a mafia protection racket. So my position is the police unions are mafia organizations committing crimes against the people, and they run afoul of the 1964 RICO Act, which is the Racketeering and Influence Act, and they also run afoul of the Constitution. And we do have a federal statute called the Enforcement Act, and that gives us the right to enforce the constitutional protections that we are supposed to be entitled to. But unfortunately, none of us have constitutional protections right now because of an abject failure of our law enforcement. So these are the problems that I'd love to address and I'd love to fix for the county. And I have been spending the last 12 years addressing these problems and working to fix these problems. So I have a long history of doing that. Now, as sheriff, I would have a lot more authority to do so. And that's why I'm reaching out to the voters. Do you want a sheriff who's actually addressing the problems of policing that the nation is just roiling from right now with the death of George Floyd? Or do you want a sheriff that's been part of the problem and been more of the same? And that's the difference between me and the other candidates running. So this is the very first time that Indian River County has had a choice of a sheriff who's actually been addressing these problems with the education and the background and the track record of actually addressing these problems. We haven't had that before. All we've had running for sheriffs were more of the same corrupt police or deputies or law enforcement officers that were part of the same drug cartels, that were part of the same mafia organizations. I say that needs to change. And a great way to do it is to vote for a sheriff. This is a constitutional office, not accountable to anybody but the voters. I am not accountable to the crooked police that are operating right now. I'm not accountable to the FBI or the CIA or the DEA. I am not accountable to police unions. I am only accountable to you, the people of Indian River County, the citizens and the voters. And You are the people that I'm working for. I am not working for the corrupt interests. So we do have a law enforcement assisted drug cartel that runs through this county. It probably runs all through Florida. It may run through the whole country. But I do know for a fact that it does run through this county. And I have documented that and presented evidence in court to prove that that is true. So do we really want our law enforcement dealing drugs? I say no. And not only that, even if you do say yes, which I'm going to disagree with you, but it's your decision. You can say yes. But we have laws that criminalize dealing drugs. So if you really do want your law enforcement to be dealing drugs, which is what they are doing right now, and what I say they should not be doing, then what we should do is we should work to change the laws so that the drugs are not criminal. If we do that, and I'm not opposed to that, we can have that conversation. But until we do, law enforcement has to stop dealing drugs. Law enforcement has to start obeying the law. Now, as far as marijuana is legal, and I'm not going to mess with that. Right now, we have law enforcement who are going out and they're arresting people who have a pot plant growing in their backyard. I'm not going to do that. If marijuana is legal, which it is, we just passed the constitutional amendment, then the police should not be going out looking for somebody with a pot plant. I mean, that is a waste of taxpayer money, and it doesn't serve the public interest in any way. Which brings me to another issue, false arrest. Right now, I estimated that we have about 10% of the arrests that happen in this county are false arrests. And when I say false arrests, I mean there's no probable cause whatsoever. There's absolutely no evidence that this person did anything wrong. And we just arrest them because, oh, I don't like that person, let's just destroy their lives. That needs to stop. My estimate of 10% has been kind of thrown on its head as I went out talking to the people, and I have been out talking to the people of Indian River County. I think it's important for a public servant to talk to the people and see what the issues are, see what they're facing, see what they need, bring them into the conversation. I found out that according to the folks I talked to out there, actually the number is more like 40 or 50%. 40 or 50% of the arrests in this county are false arrests. There is no probable cause. These people are just, the law enforcement are just destroying these people's lives, destroying these people's reputations. That needs to stop. So, with me as sheriff, that will stop. No more false arrests. And even some people who we could arrest, it wouldn't be a false arrest, but should we arrest them? Take, for example, drug addicts, okay? We have a law enforcement assisted drug cartel running through this county. What that means is law enforcement is pushing the drugs on these innocent victims. These folks get addicted to the drugs. How are we going to address that? Well, right now, we're just putting them in jail, and we're throwing them through the legal system, and with all the corruption that's happening there. And we're destroying their lives, and we're not helping them one bit, because as soon as they get out of jail, they go back and they do drugs again, and then they end up in jail again. This is not what we want for our county. What we want is, we want those drug addicts to go to rehab. Not to jail, not through the criminal justice system. We want them to go to rehab. We want them to get their lives healed. We apologize that our sheriff was the one that pushed them into drug addiction. It's unacceptable that that happened, but it did. So I'm here to fix the problem. End racial profiling, Black Lives Matter. End the theft that is going on in the sheriff's department. On the tourism end of things, now I have been an environmentalist for a very long time. On these sewage spills from Brevard County, and a lot of them happened last year. I haven't seen any this year, but we just had some heavy rains, so there may be some. Okay, that is illegal, what they're doing, and it is also criminal, and that's a matter for the sheriff. So it's a public nuisance, and it is also criminal negligence. So as sheriff, I would get involved with Brevard County and say, look, this is criminal what you're doing. You have to find a way to stop this. It's affecting our county, it's affecting our citizens, and it's affecting the quality of our life here and our environment. It's affecting our tourism industry, and it's criminal, and you need to stop doing it. And there, you know, with the power of arrest, which the sheriff has, not saying that I would arrest any of these folks, but the power of arrest is a big stick. And that can ensure cooperation on their part. St. Lucie nuclear plant is another issue. So what's going on there? I don't like the fact that it's there. Nuclear power is a huge mistake, very flawed public policy. And it's kind of not under our control because it's happening down there. But I'd like to look into that and see what kind of nuclear releases we're having, how to protect the public from that. We've got the Okeechobee releases, which Governor DeSantis solved the problem, quote, by releasing them all to the Gulf instead of to the East Coast. So it has been better, but I would look into that issue as well to protect the tourism industry here and the people of Indian River County. I don't think we've ever had a sheriff who's been an environmentalist. I would be the first. Also, very important is the EMF pollution, electromagnetic fields, electromagnetic radiation. So that's from the smart grid, the 5G, the cell phones, and so forth. I strongly oppose 5G. We don't need it. It's extremely harmful. There's an alternative to that. You know, I'm for technology, but why not just plug it in? And then it's all safe. It doesn't hurt anybody. And we can have faster internet speeds, because when it has to go through a person's body and destroy all the organs in a person's body, then it slows it down. If it goes through wires, it's fast. So let's be a little more intelligent about this. We don't need 5G. Okay, now on the shutdown. The shutdown is unconstitutional. You can't just put everybody under house arrest and say stay in your homes. That is completely unconstitutional. People have a right to travel. That's a well-established constitutional right. People have a right to free association. That's a well-established constitutional right. So you cannot do that. It's unlawful. So as sheriff, I would make sure that that never happens again. I would make sure that our community gets opened up again, and I would make sure that everybody in the community is educated as to our constitutional rights, and that kind of lockdown is absolutely unconstitutional. The data is bearing me out. The scientists and the doctors are agreeing with me. Coronavirus was never a threat to anybody. It's no worse than the usual flu season. We don't lock everything down and shut everything down because of the flu. Oh, and you might look at who the winners and the losers are in this shutdown game. Well, let's see. Jeff Bezos, he made even more money. He's already the richest person in the world. Bill Gates made a lot of money. We're talking about the richest people in the world that are making money on shutting everything down. Why are we doing this? As sheriff, I say it's unlawful, it's unconstitutional, and we don't do it here. Okay, and decarceration, restorative justice. Those are some of my top issues on saving the taxpayers' money, defunding the police, reducing or eliminating the new purchases of new equipment for the police. We just don't need it. A lot of it is surveillance equipment. Why do we want the police spying on us? It's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. We don't want that. Reducing or eliminating new hiring, There won't be a lot of new hiring going on. We'll just, let people do what they want to do. If they want to retire, if they want to move on to other jobs, that's fine. We're not going to fire them. We're only going to fire the ones that should have been fired long ago. Let's see, we're not going to violate people's constitutional rights anymore. That regime is going to end with me. And all the other deputies, all the good deputies that stay on the force, they're going to get a 20% raise. We'll have plenty of money to do that as we don't buy all that harmful equipment to declare war against our people. We don't need to do that. Okay, so I'm sure that I've addressed a lot of issues that the other candidates are just not addressing at all. And that is the difference, because these things are things that the community needs, and they're very, very important to me. And I have been addressing these issues for most of my adult life, and especially for the past 12 years. So I have been working for you for that long, and if you want me to be your sheriff and continue to work for you, and maybe even be more effective at doing it, well, I'm willing to do the job. Thanks very much.